Hello, today's book segment we're reviewing Chinua Achebe's The Education of a British Protected Child book. It's somewhat a collection of different essays that were actually written by him. So there are kind of a lot of aspects which he gives. In the preface, he says the book would be personal and eclectic, so it is therefore one that could not look we're not supposed to look at it from a scholarly perspective or with those intentions, but just to learn about his life from that perspective. So the education of a British protected child. So he says, if I speak your language badly, you tell me the right thing, you tell me how I'm supposed to say it in the right way. It's wrong to laugh at me. So this was a lady named Victoria in a Nigerian setup talking to Chinua Achebe's mother when she was trying to learn the Igbo language, and then she had said something not in the right way as it was supposed to be said. But then the tragedy here comes to the fact that you were walloped not for laughing when a mistake was made, but for making a mistake. Now you get to weigh the disparity between someone telling you, when I make a mistake, don't laugh at me, tell me the right way on how to say it. But when you, in an African, in a British system of education, you're put in that sense in order to learn, you're walloped for making mistakes. So then Nigeria's first university institution, a university college at Ibadan, in special relationship with London. So by the time it was built, he says I was ready for university education, and so I walked in. By that time, I was no longer a British protected child. Instead, I became a British protected person. So the system started as he was growing. When he went to the university institution, he ceased from being a British protected child to being a British protected person now, because he was in a British system of education. So we may not be able to teach you what you want or what you need. The only thing that we can teach you is what we know, and this is what we find in the system of education. I think in the system of education adopted as Africans. So this was quoted from one of the writings. So a great part of Chinua Achebe's education came from the wall hangings, so which his father actually put around the house and all that. This takes me now to talking about what he writes in the book, My Dad and Me. So he says, my father was a man of few words, and then he regrets saying that he did not have enough time to ask him a lot of questions he was supposed to ask. So the answer to my father found in the Christian faith solved many problems, but not all of them. So the introduction of Christianity to the Nigerian setup and everything helped in answering some questions from the father, right? But they did not answer all the questions which were supposed to be responded to. So he had this relationship with his father, which was okay, but he regretted that he was just supposed to ask a lot of questions. And then, what is Nigeria to him? He says, but it occurred to me that Nigeria is neither my mother nor father. Nigeria is a child. That's what he says. So gifted, enormously talented, prodigiously endowed, and incredibly wayward. So being a Nigerian is assumably frustrating and unbelievably exciting at the same time. So Nigeria is a country where nobody can wake up in the morning and ask, what can I do now? Because there is just work for everyone. So it's a whole lot of that experience for him. Then when he talks about traveling white, the only African country that he had visited I think one of the first African countries to go to was Ghana. That was after Ghana got their independence. And then he also visited northern Rhodesia by then, which is currently or modern day Zambia. So the story that he tells in traveling in Zambia, that is when he was going to see the Victoria Falls in Livingstone after having an overnight sleep somewhere. He says he was shocked by the fact that when he got on a bus to go to the place he was supposed to go to, that is to see the Victoria Falls, there was an incident that happened on a bus. Looking at the fact that he had sat in like on the front part of the bus, something like opposite to the driver, and then the conductor, when collecting tickets and all that, was shocked, like, why are you sitting in front and all that. And then he was curious to know why he was shocked and all that. So the British system that was there of inferiority that was imposed on Africans is what came to life actually by then, that no, you're not supposed to sit in front, you're supposed to be like at the back and all that. But he enjoyed his experience, as he put it. He also visited countries like South Africa and other African countries. Talking about the spelling, the spelling of our proper name. So the nightmare lasted so long, and the distances traversed were so vast that communication was breached between home and diaspora. Even memory lapsed, and the two sides lost each other. They forgot who they were, their proper name, that is. So one earned the name of slaves and others of savages. Operations renames its victims, brands them as a farmer brands his cattle with a common signature. So it always aims at subverting the individual spirit and the humanity of the victim, and the victim will more or less struggle to remove oppression, to flee. So the thing here, the message that he was trying to bring across, is the fact that we are not supposed to let an adversary or a real or a potential threat assume a playful name to us, something that is not peculiar to us, right? So the reason behind is simply, if you know whence you came, there is really no limit as in to where you can go, and your name is something that just gives you your identity. And as Africans, there is this need for the appreciation of our names, right? And then talking about his daughters and the relationship that he had. How many children do you have? The answer should be a rebuke, because he says children are not livestock. However, he had two daughters and two sons. So the sequence is like this: daughter, son, and daughter. And then he says that the girls were positioned at systematic positions in the family. Amongst the recognitions that he has, that was on the May 25th, Chinua Achebe Day, in recognition of his commitment to his art, as well as the expression and transmission of knowledge and truth through his writing and teaching, and a lot more other achievements that he got. And then he also talks about Africa's tarnished name. So history aside, geography has its own brand of lessons in the paradox that it has for us. So print media and electronic media has invented a tradition. So it's an African. It's this type of Africa that we know, where nothing good ever happens or never has happened. But in the actual sense, it's we learning about Africa not from Africans, but from Europeans, from Americans, from different people. Politics and politicians of the language of Africa. The language of Africa is adopted because of different colonial masters that we had. I think Nigeria had the British, which is English, that was adopted, and all that. Zambia equally was something that had to be British and all. So the complexity of our situations from ourselves and from those foolish enough to put their trust in us is something that I don't know, was forcibly put upon us. But again, in other sections of the book, he qualifies the statement of saying English language actually played a very important role in teaching things for apart. So in the last paragraph of Chinua Achebe's Things Fall Apart, perhaps the most memorable account in English of an African culture and the impact of the white European enrichment. So the voice and language of the book shifts with that is startling abruptness. So anyone who has read or taught the novel can testify to the different dimensions in which people look at it differently, because himself in the book he says when he got a review from Korea, when he got a review from these other Asian countries, it was something that they looked at from a different perspective. And then he got another review from an African American, it was something that was different at the end of the day. Yeah, so it's all based on perspective. But then the whole idea that things look different to different observers, and that one's very perceptions are shaped by social and cultural context out of which one operates. So Things Fall Apart is this masterpiece of his that I think he's ever written. Then in recognition of Martin Luther King and Africa, Martin Luther King, out of the great Bantu dictum on humanity's indivisibility. So he acknowledges the fact that we call as Africans Ubuntu, that is Ubuntu Ngumuntu Ngabantu, which is simply translated to mean a human is a human because of other humans. And then talking about the university and the leadership factor that plays in Nigeria's politics. So without good leadership, none of the problems stands a chance that is of being tackled, which cannot be solved by anyone. So be as it may, the universities and other elite centers with deep knowledge of national and world issues can play a very, very significant role. That's an analogy that's given to the undertaking by the kingmaker, right? Because when the proper type of leadership is taught, then in universities and all that, there is just that link that you're going to produce good leaders as Africa. And finally, the last part of the book is talking about Africa is people. A lot of disparities out there in the world where people are just so ignorant about what Africa is. But Achebe clears us by saying Africa is people. It's not a fiction. Africa is a real people. So Africa is people. It may seem too simple and obvious for some, but I have found in the course of my travels through the world that most simple things can give us a lot more trouble, even the brightest amongst us. So he says, and this particularly so in many in many cases concerning Africa. So James Baldwin made an analogy where he points out in the Fifth Avenue Uptown, where he wrote, "Negroes want to be treated like men." A perfectly straightforward statement containing 7 words. Negroes want to be treated like men. So people who have mastered Kant, or these other guys like Hegel, Shakespeare, Karl Marx, Sigmund Freud, the psychologist, and the Bible, however, find that statement impenetrable. They just can't uh, get that Negroes wants to be treated as men. But Africa, however, is a people. So it also has another dimension where, so Africa believes in people, right? Africa believes in cooperation with people. If the philosophical dictum of Descartes, I think, therefore I am, that's from the European standpoint, represents a European individualistic idea. The Bantu Declaration, Ubuntu, Ngumuntu, Ngabantu, represents an African communal aspiration. A human is human because of other humans. So our humanity is contingent on the humanity of our fellow humans. No person or group can be human alone. So this was not necessarily a review, but just talking about what I found fun about reading the education of a British protected child, and having passed through a similar system as well. I found something very fascinating, that is, we cannot teach you what you need, nor what you want. We can only teach you what we know. So as Africans, think about it. Till we meet in the next segment. Checking out.